behind this project. So, Alexander, the floor is yours. We are moving from the regulatory framework through the practical interventions in the building sector and where IB Road to EPC can fit to that, how it can help.
Thank you very much, Dragomir, for this kind introduction. And indeed, so we've looked at, let's say, the reasons at the end of the day to renovate. There is a regulatory framework on the one side, and on the other, indeed, it makes sense from an energy point of view, a financial point of view. But of course, this is not always evident in terms, at least, of the front investment that a building owner has to do. Also, what we looked at in terms of regulatory aspects, there is a national regulation, of course, a national framework. There is a European framework. There is this kind of convergence towards, of course, the provisions of the new EPBD and other directives that Rutger mentioned. And this, at the end of the day, what it means is that we have to, in a way, to foresee the future. There are targets for 2030, for 2040, 2050, and at the same time, a building has its own characteristics. As it was built, we know that most European buildings are old. They've been built quite a few decades ago, and they will be around, so we need to improve of them. But they have various elements, various components. They are, let's say, they're a building envelope, they're walls, their windows and frames and doors. They have their system, building systems, etc. They are not all at the end of the day so one thing. Okay, a building is a complex system at the end of the day, composed by several elements. So when we look at this kind of, let's say, at the future, we know that already we have some regulatory targets. We have aspects that regulatory aspects that have to do with the systems, the building systems, like the fossil fuel ban, for example. But there's also things that have to do with the building itself. So the building itself might be too old, or certain elements. The roof tiles, for example, if they are more than 50 years old, they should be changed, they should be updated, they should be upgraded. A lot of maintenance work needs to take place. So at the end of the day, anyone having the ownership and the responsibility of a building needs to plan ahead quite a few things. And ideally to combine these various aspects. So if, for example, there is a fossil fuel ban in 2040, then of course it does not make sense much to buy a new one now. It makes sense to use the one that is there at least until the end of its life, and then to switch to another system. So this way, what we could say is that for a building, in reality, we know quite a lot, and we can plan quite a lot, when to insulate the roof, when to install, let's say, a heat pump instead of a system, a fossil fuel system, when to insulate the facade. There are, let's say, the ideal, if you want, the optimal moments to do any such upgrades. And also, as mentioned already by Alexander, for example, when we do these upgrades, we need to plan the one that will be done after the other, because otherwise we might have some issues like the lock-in effect. We might not have the best results that we want, or we might even end up spending the money twice or more because we did not plan carefully. It is at this stage that a tool like IB Road to EPC, a tool at the end of the day like the Building Renovation Passport, that, as was already mentioned, makes sense to include. So we have the, let's say, traditional energy performance certificate saying where we are. We can perhaps have a target about where we want to go. We are today at C and we want to get to A+, for example. And as already explained, this is not something that necessarily can be done in one go, because we might not have the money available, or we might not be using, let's say, our existing equipment and building to the best to the best level. And at this stage, then this kind of planning requires, of course, expert advice. This kind of planning requires certain, at least a contribution from someone who understands the building, the regulations, and the what the needs and requirements and potential of the building owners are. So for our building inhabited by us, the plan might be different than if the same building were inhabited by someone else and the building use was different. It is here where a building renovation passport, of course, enters. It's, as already mentioned, it's complementary to the EPC, which is a static snapshot of the energy performance. Now, at the regulatory level, it's foreseen, but a project such as IB Road to EPC and its precursor IB Road was looking at these things even before this new EPBD was put in place. The combination of the two, where we are today, where we want to go, what is the plan to get there, can indeed have a very good result at the level of at the macro level, if you want, of improving building the energy efficiency of buildings in Europe. And at the same time, this has to be realistic. So in the previous project, IB Road, we tested this in 3 countries. We had a full model for the building renovation passport, and our test showed that it can improve by step through the implementation of such measures that are carefully planned to have, let's say, 60% improvement in energy efficiency, which is really what we could call deep renovation, deep energy renovation and impact. We are now in the IB Road to EPC, which is the follow-up project, and having seen the general tendencies, trends for the regulation, but also at the market, first of all, we are looking at new countries, at additional countries for testing, but we've also added quite a few additional measures and aspects, such as the smart readiness indicator, such as the indoor air quality, indoor environment quality, which will be presented by Lukas in the next presentation. So and let's get to something which is very important, of course, the cost. IB Road was quite ambitious, looking at a full building renovation passport. We are now here looking at something that is like an add-on to the EPC. And indeed, the planning of the EPBD says exactly that this kind of building renovation passport should replace the recommendations. We made a lot of work, preparatory work, making the job easier for the energy performance consultants, the auditors, the energy performance experts that will provide this information to the building users and owners. So this means that this could be indeed at a reasonable cost between, let's say, a full building renovation passport and an energy performance certificate. And this, as I said, it's an add-on. So you get an additional page to your energy that is added to the energy performance certificate with a QR code and a link. Once you look in there, you get a lot of information which is online and can be updated about how to proceed with the renovation of the building. You have a strategy in the sense of depending where you want to go, which is the best way to do it. This is the result of such a consultation, and quite a lot of information about how to proceed with the work that you want to do and where you will be getting. So this is, if you want, a very brief overview about how IB Road to EPC fits in this broader challenge, if you want, of having to renovate or needing to renovate or wanting to renovate your building in a stepwise manner with a long-term target, and to do it in the best possible manner so that your investment really pays up. I think this is it for the moment, and of course we have more complete presentations of the tool, but For the moment, I think at the level of building of public authorities, it makes sense to stop here with the details.
Thank you very much, Alexander. And indeed, thanks for a balanced approach to the issue and considering all the variations of the issue, because indeed there are so many things to be taken into account when we are trying to promote such a new tool. And one thing that comes out for myself is that actually the knowledge and the added value of the EPC is hidden in precisely that additional information that comes. So if we are living in a situation in a country where the information in the EPC is limited, that's kind of adding up further advice has, I assume, much more added value to the building owners and can save them a lot of costs, given the fact that in most of the cases we are quite prone to mistakes in the design and the building process. I'm taking one question coming from the chat box, the Q&A interface, and it is: how does IB Road to EPC comply with or address the provisions of the amended EPBD? Is it taken into account, given the fact that the project is already quite advanced and the EPBD, even though it has been in discussion for some years now, was just adopted by the relevant institutions?
Well, that's a short question with a very long answer. I'll try to provide a very concise approach. I would say, in most regards, as far as we have seen it, and we are still looking into, the new EPBD is just a couple of weeks old, and we are still reading through it and trying to understand as much as possible and interpret what it has as requirements for the building renovation passport. I would say to the greatest extent that the IB Road to EPC does comply. It definitely provides this logic of replacing the recommendations of the EPC once such a building renovation passport is there. There are quite a lot of points, as Rutger said earlier. The devil is in the details. But one thing that we can say is that our building renovation passport under the IB Road to EPC is a light, simple, but quite dependable building renovation passport. So we expect that it would check most boxes. But the good thing is that even if it doesn't, the full building renovation passport, which was foreseen under IB Road, which of course is, I would say, a more expensive beast, but a more complete document, should definitely cover these approaches. And overall, the logic of IB Road to EPC and IB Road was expandability and adaptability. So we are quite confident that by the end of the project, we will have foreseen any potential changes that need to be done so that it covers the EPBD provisions.
Yep, I fully agree with that, and I do trust that investment in knowledge actually pays off, and these are the tools that can bring knowledge to the market, considering also the development of the legal framework and the requirements at European and national level. And now we will look a little bit deeper into that with Lukas Kranzl from Technical University of Vienna, with whom we would be talking about the extending actually the EPC indicators through the IB Road to EPC for focusing on the multiple benefits and the better usability of the tool. And Lukas has been with us since the beginning. Before that, I mean, he's one of the most quoted scientists on the topic of building renovation passport. If you look at his work by the different databases, he's a senior scientist at the Energy Economics Group of the Technical University in Vienna, leading a research team on heating and cooling in integrated energy systems. He holds a degree in industrial economics and mechanical engineering and a PhD in energy economics. He works on the future perspective of sustainable energy systems with a focus on buildings, heating and cooling, foresight modeling, and analysis of policy instruments. But I think his words and slides and presentation would tell you actually what it is all about and how it is useful to the market and the end user. So Lukas, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dragomir, for this great introduction. A lot of expectations now on my shoulders. I will do my best in my presentation to show examples how IB Road to EPC extends beyond classical EPC indicators.